Hi everyone, I'm here today to talk to you about my recommendations on some things you could read to improve your knowledge of health and fitness, take control of your own fitness and weight loss journey, and also just some things that might be of interest and motivating bits of reading for you. I'll start with a couple of books and an author called Ross Edgley. The first book of his that I read is called The World's Fittest Book. This is essentially a bit of a Bible about how to train and also how he became a bit of a fitness adventurer and how he trained for some pretty extreme challenges like doing a marathon, pulling a car and doing a triathlon, carrying a tree, lots of silly challenges that he did, but basically proving that your body can be trained to achieve a particular goal and how he did that. So quite a motivating book, relatively I suppose academic and research, so lots of good information in there. That is The World's Fittest Book by Ross Edgley, and I'll put the link to all of these books and reading materials in the notes for this YouTube video. The second book by Ross Edgley is called The Art of Resilience, and this is about how he swam around the UK, so the whole coastline of the UK, in just over 5 months without ever touching land. So he swam 6 hours on, 6 hours off, to keep up with the tides, and basically how he got through that intense challenge, but also more about how he developed strategies and habits and ways of training towards that goal. Both of those two Ross Edgley books are really good, sort of motivating, inspiring fitness stories. He does lots of work for charity, and his books are really interesting. So he's also got lots of content on his YouTube channel. So that's my first recommendation, Ross Edgley, World's Fittest Book, which is about sort of science of training, and then The Art of Resilience, which is about sort of motivation, resilience, grit, and how you undertake extreme challenges. The second author and book that I think is worth reading is by a guy called James Smith, and that's called Not a Diet Book, and that is essentially a really straightforward factual account of how you can lose weight, lose body fat, and what the science is. And essentially no complications, no confusion, no diet fads, just a really simple, straightforward explanation of calories in versus calories out, things that affect that, tips and ways of increasing your general metabolic burn during the day, and just ways ways around actually trying to find complicated ways of losing weight, and actually the straightforward science of it. So he's unapologetically straight talking, but Not a Diet Book by James Smith is a really good one to read. The next one I'm going to suggest is actually a YouTube channel, an Instagram account. There's also a book, but I suggest most of the information that you'll find in the best format is probably on his Instagram account, and that's Squat University. So Squat University is run by a physical therapist, a doctor who has got extensive experience and knowledge in sort of physiotherapy and rehab. He's written a book called Rebuilding Milo, and a lot of his information is very sort of technical and scientific about the way that joints move, but actually loads of tips on there about movement effectiveness, correct movement patterns, how to fix certain flaws, and also lots of rehabilitation and strengthening exercises for various complaints, so for bad backs, shoulders, just a huge resource of knowledge. So dive into that Squat University Instagram account. He's also got a YouTube account, and I think you'll find some really interesting bits of information there about how our bodies differ, how people's femur lengths affect how they squat and how it looks, and mobility move exercises depending on how you move. So that's Squat University. Again, I'll put the link to that Instagram account in the YouTube notes. And the final one I want to recommend is a journal article by CrossFit called What is Fitness? And this was written probably 15 to 20 years ago now. One of the founding bits of research around CrossFit and the training methodology. So before CrossFit, the sport, was invented, and before you even think about the elite athletes doing pretty crazy things, CrossFit itself is a training methodology, constantly varied functional movements performed at high intensity, so moving heavy loads, long distances, quickly, gymnastics, weightlifting, monostructural movements. And the What is Fitness article is a really interesting read about how we define fitness. So some people would say that the fittest athletes in the world are marathon runners, but you ask them to lift weight, which is another form of fitness, and actually they're no good. Or some people would say that powerlifters are the fittest people on earth. And actually this article, What is Fitness, tries to define, I think it comes up with 10 different factors that influence fitness, essentially, so power, strength, speed, and so on. And it just talks about how we can break down each of those component parts, how we can train for them, and how we can actually test them and come up with a combined training methodology that actually hits all of the multiple factors of all the components of fitness. So for those of you that are on my Everyday Athlete program, a lot of the foundational, I suppose, methodology comes from that CrossFit original articles around what is fitness and how we program the CrossFit Level 1 course. So definitely reading that article would be, I think you'll find it interesting. You'll see lots of similarities in what we talk about, how we test various types of fitness and how we train various types of fitness, and how it links back to that original CrossFit training methodology. So we've got Ross Edgley, The World's Fittest Book and the Art of Resilience. We've got James Smith, Not a Diet Book. We've got the Squat University Instagram and YouTube channel, and then we've got the CrossFit Journal article, What is Fitness? I'll put all of those links in the show notes, in the YouTube show notes, and then in another 6 to 12 months I'll come back with some more recommendations. But I think as a starting point for those of you looking to dip your toe in the water and understand a bit more about health, fitness, strength and conditioning, and to motivate yourselves and to give yourself some more knowledge, that's a great starting point. Happy reading.